3,
3,
2, 1.
Happy New Year!
How's 2023? Actually, let's not ask that.
Yeah, how is 2023, everybody? We're recording from December 19th, 2022. I bet it's just beautiful. I bet 2023 is just better than the other years. I don't know. I have a good feeling about this year. Anyways, welcome back, everybody, to Stacked episode 1 fucking 100.
Episode 100.
We
Triple
did it.
digits, baby. Trip dig. All right.
Well, Ethan, you have a debt to pay.
It's been 100 episodes, and I don't even know when we made this bet.
Me
Episode,
neither.
like,
it was
3
on the
or something.
podcast.
It was gotta be
was-
like episode 3 or 4 or something.
I would say
very early. Yeah.
Ethan flashback to the moment we made this bet, but there's no way in hell I'm gonna do that. I don't want to go through all of our episodes to do that. If we had an editor that I paid, I would make him do it. But because it's me, hell no. So how do I even? Okay. All right.
Do you want me to contextualize like why this bet exists?
Sure.
Okay. So for anyone who doesn't know, very early into our podcasting days, we were trying to compel Ethan to tell a certain story about himself, a very personal story.
That was 2.5
and-
years ago.
Yeah, that was at least 2.5 years ago, by the way. And
That's crazy.
Ethan, understandably, was a little resistant to it, but he did promise us that if the day comes that we hit episode 100, he will share the story. And we know what story it is.
Well,
So,
2 years
Ethan,
ago, but still.
Please, take it away.
All right. This is the story about how I got a second butthole.
Not a joke. This is not a joke.
We're not a joke. This is not a joke, fellas.
I don't have it anymore. I gotta say, I do not. I do not. But there was a period in my life where okay, and I gotta say, it wasn't literally an asshole. Okay, like I didn't shit out of 2 holes. I'm not like some alien freak. All right, unless there are people who actually have 2 buttholes like that. You're not freaks. I just want to. Oh boy. Okay. So in 2016, it was October. It was the first weekend of October in 2016. I remember this because this happened over the weekend. I was watching season 1 of Luke Cage. That's where it all started. That I remember this. So I got my wisdom teeth removed. And I am not one to handle healing from wounds easily. I don't know why. It's just I'm built different.
Yeah.
So when I got shut the fuck up. Yeah, fucking beta with your fucking avatar do-rag. All right. Your big ass Navi forehead. That's what it looks like right now.
We'll get to that, buddy. We'll get to that.
What do you mean we'll get to that? All right. Okay, so I'm not gonna long story short this. I have to talk about it all. So, I got my wisdom teeth removed. I was kind of wuss, so it took me a long time to heal. So I was sitting on my ass for a long period of time waiting for my teeth to heal because the painkillers were not working. It was very exhausting for me to heal from this. It was very painful. And in this time when I was healing, I developed this thing called a polynidial cyst. Now, aka an ingrown hair right at the tip of my tailbone. This is so gross. Why are we talking about this? Okay.
Hey, you're the one who said
You're the one who kept ragging on me, and I was the one who thought one of you 2 chumps would quit this podcast before we had to talk about this.
Well, what can I say?
Hey, what can I say? Okay, anyways, I got an ingrown hair right on my tailbone. It got infected. I had to get surgery. It left a hole there that I had to take care of. I had a tube coming out of my right where my tailbone was, so it looked like I had a tail, but it was a tube that led to a blood bag. And
Ethan had a tail, folks. It's
I had a tail. I did have a tail for a solid 3 months of my life. I got this surgery. I remember right after I saw Doctor Strange, and that's why the movie was so special for me, because it was like I was so confused and spiteful of the surgery in my life right now. And then Doctor Strange, he had did the same thing, but it was his hands, and it was like we had parallel lives, except for it was my fucking asshole instead of my hands. Yeah, I know what you're gonna say. That's the parallel there. I know that's why you're laughing. I'm like, it's just like me, but with my fucking butt. That's cool. That's why I love the movie. And literally,
were you a jaded piece of shit?
I was a jaded piece. I used to be. I used to be. And this was also when I was applying for colleges too. So all this shit was happening, and it was just draining my entire life. It was the darkest period of my life. I hated it. Hated having two buttholes. I hated having a tail. If you tugged on it, I would literally pass out from the pain. Which someone did when I was walking through the halls at school. And I almost fainted. I almost fainted the night I came home from my surgery. I had to sit on the toilet. I almost fainted there. I did faint there. I did faint on the toilet. I went straight up Elvis mode. Anyways.
Lord have mercy.
That took me a second to piece together.
That's the story. I had two buttholes because, and the moral of the story is, kids, take care of your teeth. So you don't have to get wisdom, so you can get your wisdom teeth removed and have it be a safe and clean healing process. Make sure to clean those holes, because that's what I wasn't doing. I wasn't cleaning my holes enough, so the healing process took a lot longer, and I was sitting on my ass longer in pain. And then I developed this thing because I was sitting on my ass for so long.
And stick to your dreams. That's the other message.
Stick to your dreams, because even
and don't do drugs.
And even with two buttholes, look where I got. I live in Hollywood now.
Oh yeah, he made it.
Round
of applause for Ethan.
All the way in 2022.
All the way in 2022.
Well, okay, not anymore. 2023.
Oh yeah, it's 2023 now. Look at that. All right, so that is the story. There's all
done,
the
Ethan.
Disgusting details.
Congratulations.
Finally got that off my chest. So let's get on with the show. 2022. What a year.
What a year.
What a year
Jesus
for cinema.
Christ, what a year.
What a fucking year for cinema.
Jeez. All the COVID movies got delayed.
And then it all just came in at once.
And it just hit us like a fucking tidal wave this year.
Movies that we thought were going to be ass were amazing.
Were fucking amazing. And movies that we thought were going to be amazing were amazing.
Or just okay.
Or just good. Or just okay.
But there was like very few bad like surprises.
There were a lot of stinkers, but there was only one bad surprising stinker for me. I think I would say.
You want to say it? Because I don't think
Thor: Love and Thunder. I don't think anyone's gonna put that on our list.
Yeah,
that was the
I was
only.
About to say Thor.
That was the only surprising stinker for me. I think everything else was like, yeah, that's about right. Maybe Don't Worry, Darling. I don't know.
No, that wasn't really that surprising. After all that happened,
well,
I was hearing it was bad.
I don't know. Yeah. Lyle Crocodile. Just kidding.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah,
so
but okay, come on. Yeah.
Not like it was
thought it was going to be amazing.
I loved the books. What can I say? I loved the books. As a kid.
On top of the world tonight.
Anyways,
tonight.
I could list.
No one ever tells us what.
I'm not joking. I could list 50 movies that I would want to put on this stack. That's how many good movies there were this year.
I could probably list like 46 or 47.
That's not as much as 50, so I win there. Anyways,
I've seen less. You really went ham the last week. Hey,
I did.
Busy.
And you know what I did? I saw your 93 movies, Brandon, and I went, bet. And I pumped. I literally did. I was like, bet, and I pumped them out these next few days. I'm not even including the miniseries, because you include the miniseries on yours, and I don't.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy for you.
So as of recording this, I've seen 96 movies this year. I'm going to see my 97th with Chris on Thursday. I've seen Babylon. That's going to be exciting. And then I'm going to go home, and I'm probably going to see some more. And I'm hoping to make it to 100 by the end of this year. That's my goal. I think it's possible, because I think I'm going to watch that Ron Howard Amazon Prime movie.
Oh, 13 Lives.
13 Lives, because it's everywhere.
It went
I
under
don't
the
know.
radar.
Went
Yeah.
under the radar. I heard it's good. Babylon. Let's see. I can probably catch Women Talking. I'll see that before the end of the year. I might see Empire of Light on Wednesday. I have a company party in Irvine, and it ends at 3, and I kind of don't want to drive back home at 3, so I might kill some time to see a movie down there. I might see that, or I might see another movie, but I might rewatch another movie, and I feel like we're gonna talk about it later, which is awfully surprising. Why I would go?
Yeah.
No one would ever see my white ass watching that movie again.
Nope.
But, anyways, guys, tell me about your year in 2022. Your movie year in 2022, Chris. Please share.
Yes. For me, I mean, I did not see as many movies as you guys, but I think I did not see it. Stop it.
Excuse me?
You didn't see 90 movies this year?
I saw, how many do I have so far? I've seen 53.
That's pretty good.
That's still good.
That's good. That's better than the average layman.
Yeah, the average layman, the average peasant sees about like 2 or 3 a year. So,
and like I think those 53 are like I saw the, I don't want to put these on like a chart, but like an arbitrary chart, but it's like I saw like the more, should I say, quote unquote, important. I hate to put it like that.
Yeah,
movies, but like
the important.
For example, I didn't see like I don't know, Ice Age Adventures of Buck Wild. You know what I mean? Or I didn't see. Or I didn't. I don't know.
The second worst movie this year.
I'm just going through, like, for example, I'm looking at like what Ethan has on his list, and like, for example, I did not see, like, I didn't watch Godzilla versus Gigan Rex. Or
that was like a 6-minute short film. That's fine.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that.
But yeah, so like I think I hit most of the major ones. There are a couple blind spots here and there. I think we all have a couple of blind spots that we're either like still getting to, or just
White
just
Noise
flew over our head. Yeah, like White Noise is on my blind spots list.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll probably do a little honorable mention / blind spot segment at the end of this episode.
Well, we have to mention the ones we already have picked for final stacks, which is not a very big list, but it's there.
But there's some important movies there that I think would be on this list. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, good luck to you, Leo Grande would have been.
No, but the other ones, I don't know.
But that's kind of just how I approached it. For me, like, when making the stack, I just wanted to pick out movies that represented what I thought were the movies that like really struck a chord with me. Maybe like does something with film form that like is really meaningful to the industry, or just like, just a well-made movie. So it can be simple as that. That's how I went about it. Did you have a special process, Brandon?
Well, listen, like, my favorite movie of the year I can't pick, unfortunately, but I'm glad because that movie we've already talked about, and same for you, Chris. It was not the same movie. But this year Ethan and I looked at each other, I think in like April or May, and we looked at each other. We were like, they just keep coming. And then around September, we were like, we haven't even hit award season yet, and movies that we thought were going to be terrible or just didn't know existed are amazing, Yeah. And there's still movies that I haven't seen, even that Ethan hasn't seen, despite him seeing more than me, that are getting rave reviews or getting very divisive reactions. So like, you might fall on one side or the other, but that's at least something, It's not like previous years where, okay, all the blockbusters missed, or some of them hit, some of them didn't, or the award season movies are just like award season movies. It feels like a normal year. It doesn't feel like that.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because of COVID. Maybe it's because we are seeing a lot more artists come out of the pandemic with like ideas and like ways to tell stories. We're seeing all these different kinds of things. And I'm like, I just picked some of the ones I want to talk about, if I'm being honest, because like I said, we can't pick my favorite of the year, but we can talk about movies that I think made an impact. And I still want to see, my goal on the year was to hit 600 movies watched. I've got 4 or 5 left, so that's going to be done.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
Which is a record for me. But also, like, I set a goal to finish filmographies like Kurosawa and Scorsese, which I finished. And I know that really doesn't have to do, it doesn't have to do with like the 2022 stack, but it's a showing of how great the year was in terms of movies, in terms of life. It's very representative of that. Ethan?
Yeah. This year was fucking crazy. There are 16 films this year that I gave a 4.5 or above. And then there are 13 of these films which I have inducted into my top 250 of all time, which is crazy.
Insane.
Insane. Just in 1 year. 13 incredible films. But I've only given one film 5 stars this year, which is interesting. Only 1 5-er. Bunch of 4.5.
Only 1 5.
A bunch of them were close to perfection, but only one of them got to the very top, and I'm definitely talking about that one this episode. But for me, I want to talk about. I have that one perfect movie, but then the 2 other movies, I want to talk about 2 fantastic movies that I think really encapsulated 2022, sort of, what we were feeling, and sort of. It's what we're feeling and where we're going is like my other 2 movies in my stack. So I have how we were feeling and where we're going, and then the one that just captures this year for me. You know, that's how I sort of structured my stack. I don't know if you guys had any special way. You just did good. I know Brandon, you just did really great movies you want to talk about. Chris, did you have any sort of rhyme or reason, like in terms of its structure, or just
kind of like
movies?
I mean, yes, definitely just great movies, but also like I wanted like a bit of variety, so I have like my my quote unquote blockbuster, and then I have my important social movie, and then I have my art house, shall I say, movie. So yeah.
Well, that's great. I think we're gonna. I already know we're gonna be talking about some fantastic movies because there's so many fantastic films to pick from. We're going to be eating good at this episode. And you are too, listening to Stack. So before that, let's run over the rules of the show.
This very well may be the last time you are saying these exact words.
That is true. We should address this. This will be the last. No, maybe not. Maybe we'll hate our new format and come back to this. We'll see. It's just a little announcement after episode 100 for season 2 of Stacked. We're calling it season 2.
Even though it was 2 years of our lives.
Yeah. The next
seasons are long.
The next 100 episodes is going to be season 2. We're going to be doing some experimenting with the format of the show. You know, we want to try to see if we can make the show a bit more accessible to listeners. You know, get more people involved in listening to the show, have a more entertaining experience. So we're going to be trying out some new things, and that means we're going to be changing the format. You know, it's still going to be a movie. Not a movie. It's still going to be a podcast about the 3 of us talking movies around a certain topic, but the way we go about that is going to be different. So this is going to be the last time, at least for the foreseeable future, that I say once a week we set a topic or theme and go our separate ways, construct our own 3 film stack. Then after a week, we come back here on the podcast and share our own stacks 1 film at a time. Then at the end of the show, we will mix and match our 9 films to make the ultimate decision on what quintessential 3-film stack we are checking out of this hypothetical video store. Boom. Couldn't have said it more perfectly myself. Wait, I did say it. Brandon, you're up first with our first 2022 movie.
Yeah. So I've been waiting 13 years for this movie, and the fact that it actually paid off, like literally over half my life, is kind of insane. We're going to be talking about Avatar: The Way of Water.
Yay!
Wahoo!
And this movie is James Cameron's most anticipated follow-up to his previous movie, the highest-grossing movie of all time, in which he explores the value of family and explores the world of Pandora beneath the oceans. You know, not just there, like the many biomes, but also like familial times you don't expect.
Biomes.
Biomes.
This guy, he's always going
back,
off about
baby.
biomes.
It's back, baby.
Biome Brandon is back.
Biome Brandon is back, and I hope he stays around for the next Avatar movie and the one
I
after that.
honestly do. I hope he does.
Yeah, because it's incredible what he's able to do here. This Avatar movie is... I saw it twice in one night, even though it's 3 hours, it flies by. It's an incredibly personal film, and you can, unlike a lot of blockbusters these days, you can sense the passion behind it by the director. You can sense the voice of the directors in the writers' room that they had to make this movie. And it's, yes, the technical feats, everybody's going to talk about that. I think the 3D and high frame rate are astounding. Some of the most beautiful stuff I've ever seen in a movie theater, let alone on a movie screen. But I'm not even a movie screen, just in general. But the story is what keeps me going back. I think a lot of people who are criticizing this movie for being shallow are not giving it a fair shake. I think they look at this movie and they do see the archetypal storytelling that James Cameron kind of capitalizes on using. And unfortunately, like, they don't connect with the characters of the story, and they aren't willing to give a movie any sort of slack for using the hero's journey in any sort of format. And I think it's a beautiful movie about family, love, like strictness of parents and regulations, cultural differences, and like there's more to that, like sibling relationships. I love this movie, and I can't wait to see it many more times. I'm seeing it with my parents, probably going to go see it with Evelyn. Yeah, it's so good. I love this. Very pulpy science fiction, and surprisingly, I don't know, Ethan, do you want to take it from here?
Yeah, so
say it with me, everybody.
If y'all well, if you've caught up with the show, if you keep up with Stacked, you know how I feel about the first Avatar. I think that movie is, while it looks good, I think it is a very bland narrative with a very problematic archetype story of the white savior character, and a very ableist story too, covering a disabled character and his journey. I think it does not sit well with me. I do not like that movie. But Avatar: The Way of Water is absolutely phenomenal.
I've never thought. I wish I could record that and send it to old you.
I know. If old me heard me say that,
it made your top 250 movies of all time, which I did not know, by the way.
Of all time,
which I did not know.
250. It is
until right now.
It is an incredible film. I was clowning on the movie on leading up,
on the way to the movie.
I was literally making jokes on entering the theater. I was making my jokes, my chuckles, my ha-has. Wasn't making any jokes on the way out. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
Foot in mouth. I'll own up to my shit. Foot in mouth. Avatar: The Way of Water was a trip. So let's talk. Brandon says this movie doesn't resolve my issues with the first film. I think it does. First of all, it tells a really unique story. Yes, this film is always going to be about the indigenous aliens against the sky people, the colonizers. That's the theme of this franchise. That's what it's going to be about.
Accept it.
Yeah. That's just what it is, and that's fine, because that's a theme that can just be in any franchise. I think the first one quite literally directly made it just a Pocahontas remake, like just page for page, and I'm still gonna stick to that and still gonna criticize the movie for that. But this one tells such a complex and unique storyline about sort of generational trauma that comes from this. We have Jake and Neytiri now have a family, and now it's up to the kids to deal with this complex thing of this outsider man who has come and made these people, and they're like, now they're freaks, and they were just born on this planet. They're born and they live here, but the indigenous people now see them as outsiders, even though they've lived here their entire lives, And it also tells, like, I think this is also James Cameron going back on sort of his ableist storyline. He's like, there's not really anything I can do since making Jake an Avatar, making Jake a Na'vi. That ship has sailed. and I think he sort of makes up for it by addressing this through his kids. While they have an extra set of fingers, they're physically different from those around them, but it's never seen as like they're teased about it, but they learn to accept that part of themselves and make them stronger because they are Solis. And what do they do? What do Solis do, guys?
They stick together.
Solis stick together. And that's what this movie's all fucking about, baby.
So good.
I love family. It's so good. It's so powerful. It is one of the best movies about family and like, just like about growing up.
Family.
And sometimes you have to defy your father, even though your father's just trying to like protect your family, and that gets you in sticky situations. And it's great. I think the environmental storyline is great. He chucks unobtainium out the window. Unobtainium, it's not a real thing. It is a thing, but that's not the problem with it. Unobtainium is literally called unobtainium because when you combine those chemicals, it makes a material that only lasts for a split second. That's why it's stupid, okay? Because unobtainium is a real thing, but it is not like a rock. It is like a chemical reaction that lasts for only a split second. This time, it's about mining a new substance that I think is a lot more intriguing, because you never know what unobtainium does. You know what this thing does, and it tells a really good and
it's an allegory for the buffaloes of the plains, I think.
It's an allegory for just whale hunting, bro. Like this shit's a serious problem that happens all the time. That still happens to this day, is whaling. And like the shit that like and they capture why whaling is so bad in this movie because like literally whales are only used for just like a little bit. Like that tiny substance, We used to hunt whales for just making candles. Isn't that the stupidest thing ever? Like, we just got that shit just we can just make fucking candles, bro. But, like, it's so great. The world building, I think, is far better than the world building in the first Avatar. That's just my own personal bias because I love the ocean so much, And I love, like, tropical biomes, Brandon. Tropical biomes. Seeing, I love what are the people called of
Metacaena?
The Metacaena. I think they're far more interesting than the Na'vi.
The Omaticaya.
The Omaticaya. It's
more nuanced. I think
they're a lot more nuanced. I love the
and
evolutionary
it's the Polynesian
differences. Yeah, it's the Maui and Polynesian like influence there. I love when they stick out their tongues and of course Cliff Curtis is the chief and that he brings his own backstory, his own background into that role, and that's really great. Biggest complaint of that movie, what the fuck is Kate Winslet doing? Like that shit is low key racist. I don't know. I think that's pretty offensive.
I think Kate Winslet and Neytiri, I think they had stuff cut out of the movie.
No, but even like what is
I know. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think there's probably stuff cut out. And I didn't like Neytiri in this movie at all. She was one of my favorite parts in the first movie. One of the very few things I liked. But now she was just like, she doesn't really have that much of a role in this film. And when she does, it's just her screaming and crying, which was like she did that a lot in the first movie too. And
but she's reduced to that only.
She's reduced to just that, and I'm just like, I'm over it, But this is a really great film, and it just further about the interconnectedness. I love Sigourney Weaver's Curie, and her storyline is what her storyline alone is like make Avatar 5. Make 6 and 7 if you have to.
If you have to.
Let him cook. Let this man cook.
Let him cook.
I need to see that. From just that alone, I can see that James Cameron could get to some End of Evangelion shit with this franchise.
Her and Britton Dalton are like they're going to be the future of this franchise.
Yeah.
He plays Loak, by the way.
Yeah, Loak was great in this movie, and his relationship with the Talokan, is that what they call the whales?
Payakan, but his name's Tolkien. Tolkien is the whale breed.
Okay. Yeah. The Tolkien, that is just phenomenal, and the visuals behind that. And I haven't even talked about how beautiful this movie is. I feel like there's so much more.
He cried too.
I cried 3 times in this movie.
I cried twice.
I cried three times.
God.
And I haven't even talked about just how incredible this movie looks. It boggled my mind how they even did that, and I can't believe this. I can't believe this. Can you guys believe this? Can you guys
No.
believe that I just went on this rant? This is the first movie. We're already 30 minutes in, and this is the first movie we talked about. I've talked about this too much. Chris, tell us, because we haven't really talked about Way of Water, because we both saw it yesterday, so this is like our first in person like talk about it.
I mean, I would say something, but you guys already said everything that I would say.
You could talk about the visuals if you want. We didn't really touch on it.
Majestic, beautiful, love the ocean. Like, you guys already said everything there is to say about this movie. I think we should just move on. We're already 30 minutes in.
Okay. Well, hats off, James Cameron. You made an Avatar.
Never
fan.
bets against him.
Never bet against Cameron. Ethan, say the line. Now I'm on the board. Never bet against Cameron. You can't. It's incredible.
I hope they make 4 and 5. I've heard 4 is so good from what he said.
Yeah. So that's why I might go see this movie again. You know, isn't it crazy? I was like, you can literally read my review for
The first
True
one.
Lies for True Lies. I'm like, Cameron, make original movies. Don't be making blue people. You gotta finish, bro. I gotta see this through. I gotta. Okay, we've gone on way too much on this movie, but that's because it just came out and we're all excited. Chris, let's get into your first 2022 movie.
All right. I'm just gonna. We already talked about this movie before on a different episode, but I'm just gonna throw this in there because I think it's one of my favorite blockbuster films of the year. Matt Reeves' Batman.
Oh yeah, phenomenal film.
Yeah, the Batman. I really, really like this film. I think it is the perfect answer to what Batman should be now, considering how much we have covered this character in the past. I love the world of Gotham in this movie. I think the fable of the Batman in this movie is explored really well. This is almost like an origin story for him, but like it's not told like an origin story, which I really appreciate. Yeah, Matt Reeves' direction in this movie is also really good. Cinematography is fantastic by Greg Fraser. Yeah, all around performances are fantastic. I think more than anything, my favorite thing about this movie is how it articulates like the transitionary period of Gotham from being organized crime to the crazies. We talked about this at length in our Batman review, so I'm not going to tread water again. But yeah, I'm picking the Batman for my first film.
Brandon?
I like the Batman a lot. I think I need to rewatch it. I only watched it the one time in theaters, but I really enjoyed how Matt Reeves kind of made this movie. I think, like we talked about it before, it's like incredible how we've had 3 or 4 blockbusters this year that have refuted the idea of what blockbusters have become in terms of like their pacing and tone, and I think this is one of them because it is a very slow-paced movie, but it is an incredibly effective noir detective movie, which you don't see a lot of. Like, it is exactly what Batman is in the comic books to a T, pretty much. And I think it even goes further in grounding the character in a sense of Fincher reality, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I really like that. I do want to see it again, just because I haven't watched it since March, but I just haven't had the opportunity. I think I'm going to pick up the 4K Blu-ray for it, because I just got a 4K player, because I want to see that movie at the highest potential. And yeah, a very good movie. It's like just outside my top 10, but very good still, nonetheless.
Yeah, I love this movie. It is my second favorite movie of this year. I just didn't put it in my stack because I want to talk about, a few more lesser known films, and I just wanted to stick to one blockbuster for my stack, because there's so many great films of all sorts of production sizes and scales, that I wanted to sort of cover all my bases. But the Batman is a beautiful. I love what you said, Brandon. In this time where all 3 of us are very worried about the future of blockbuster filmmaking and just filmmaking for large audiences, and how that's paced and how that's made, and Matt Reeves comes out of the gate showing us this incredible, slowly methodical noir detective film that's 3 hours long that tells a story about Batman confronting his privilege and uncovering the truth about sort of the corruption of Gotham that we haven't really seen from before. You know, almost to a point villainizing the Waynes and what they've done. And
We've
none of
never
it's
seen him go young either.
we've
I'm
never
just realizing that.
like this young. You know, we've had Batman Begins, but Christian Bale was still like, you know, he was pretty middle aged, you know.
Yeah.
But not this young, in terms of age wise, you know, and inexperience, because you know you had, I mean, at the end of the day, Batman doesn't win in this movie. He doesn't,
No, he
you know,
loses.
he learns. He loses and learns, and that is something that's so unique to superhero films. You all, because you can always, you could. I don't think I could never have predicted this ending. You know, because in superhero movies, you're like, okay, so he's gonna beat the bad guy and win. But this one was, yes, I mean, we can go into spoilers. It's been, you know, it's
9
been
months.
9 months since this movie came out. He, like, you know, he sends the Riddler, but the Riddler still completes his mission of flooding Gotham, and then Batman just has to learn with his mistake, and he learns that the way he's handling things and being a symbol of vengeance is not the way. And that's very intertextual. I think that's also Matt Reeves telling us that, like, what Nolan has created around Batman that was further made in Zack Snyder's films, that's not really what Batman is about. You know, he is not a symbol of vengeance. He's a symbol of using fear to inspire hope in Gotham. You know, he is supposed to be he's fighting fire with fire to make hope, you know, to make Gotham a better place. And it's just such a spectacular story. Everyone in this movie is like perfectly encapsulates the characters. Colin Farrell completely transforms as the Penguin. Zoe Kravitz, Paul Dano, Robert Pattinson, Andy Serkis as Alfred is pretty great in this movie. I damn well hope Matt Reeves can finish his trilogy. DC is up in the air right now. Let's see what happens. But
I trust James Gunn.
the fact that James Gunn is a creative first and, you know, a CEO second,
I appreciate that.
It really gives me trust that he's gonna allow Reeves to let him cook. You know, let this man cook.
Let him cook.
The Woody, hold up, let him cook. I love that image. But yeah, great pick, Chris. We're talking about some incredible blockbusters, thus far. I'm gonna go a bit smaller. Neither of you two have seen this film yet. But I'm going to be talking about Noah Baumbach's White Noise as my first pick. Because I think this is the movie that has perfectly encapsulated the 2022 mindset and mentality, where so this movie is about this college professor. He professes in Hitler studies. He's like one of the best professors in Hitler studies of all time. He's like got a claim for that. He works at a college in this small town, and this train wreck happens that creates this big toxic cloud, like nuclear toxic cloud, and that is basically our COVID allegory, is this cloud hanging over this town, you know, because people don't know what to do. They're panicking, they're reacting, they're like, should we stay inside, you know, should we leave, should we exile, what's going on? So, you know, a bit of this movie is sort of, you know, allegorizing our last 2 years, you know, dealing with COVID. But then as the film goes on, it sort of breaks down a more interpersonal narrative and philosophical narrative of how did we as a society get to this mentality? Like, what is, like, Noah Baumbach's trying to figure out, like, what was our main, like, what is the thing that made us have this pandemic spiral out of control, you know? And it's a lot about these characters dealing with their fear of death. The West has such, compared to every other culture, has such a bizarre, just grasp of death and, like, a concept of death that a lot of people are a lot more, like, accepting and chill with death. But in the West, it's like, because you know, a lot of our life, due to like capitalism and like owning property and taking care of family through money, death is just turned into this end all that like scares the living shit out of us, you know? So that's what this movie is about, and like why this fear of death has like created all this stuff, and sort of like it sort of plays an optimistic nihilist approach of how to deal with that giant fear of death and where we should go from there, you know, and the comforts we lay on. And this is a very out of character Noah Baumbach film. It
No
doesn't
divorce.
actually there's no divorce.
No.
but there is like there's like should we divorce? And both the characters have gone through many marriages, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's standard. But it's a lot bigger in scale in his movies, and the dialogue in them is a lot. It's very Wes Anderson, which I found very peculiar. The way they present themselves and talk to each other, and the way sets are decorated and stuff like that. Like when you see this movie, you see the supermarket. I feel like it's a very Wes Anderson set.
Sounds like it's like a Royal Tannenbaum situation.
I'd say that's probably the closest, or no, that's probably the closest. Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, the supermarket in Fantastic Mr. Fox at the end looks very similar to the one in this movie, but it's just
real.
it's I know, but it's very much just that mentality and like how are we feeling this year? You know, this was Noah Baumbach being like, this is kind of how I was feeling this year during all this stuff. Do you guys agree? And I'm like, yeah, I kind of agree. Like, 2022 is we're coming out of the worst of the pandemic, you know, and now we're sort of just like, what happened? You know, that's what this year has been about, and that's sort of what he talks about in this movie. So I know none of you two have seen it, yet, because I mean, it just came out, in its limited release, but
be on Netflix soon.
I think it's next week is on Netflix.
I think it's like New Year's Eve or the day before
yeah.
that. Because here's the thing, right? For me, I thought this movie sounded extremely interesting. And, you know, people are like, why isn't it up for awards consideration? I've heard it's kind of weird in terms of its dialogue. It's based on a book, you know, and it just so happens that I think Baumbach mined material from COVID and was like, we could really relate this to people, you know, because I don't think it's an accident that it's coming out when it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very confused because it's not like it's getting bad reviews or anything. Like, people are really liking this movie. It's just like there's no buzz, and that's weird for a movie that people like. Yeah. And I just think it's a really interesting concept to have, like, okay, like, people trapped indoors. I just think a lot of people are afraid to confront that sort of reality, and they want to quickly go back to normal or escape their problems, that they're avoiding a film that might confront the ongoing one in society. But it sounds very interesting and cool.
Yeah. Chris, what do you think? I know you haven't seen it yet, but what are your expectations?
I haven't even heard about I mean, I knew that Baumbach was putting out a movie, but I didn't know anything about what it was about or anything like that. Yeah, it sounds interesting. The COVID, like, I like the idea of the COVID allegory kind of being the forefront, like, thing, pushing this movie. Yeah, sounds like an interesting concept. I just haven't seen it.
Yeah, I highly recommend it for everyone to check it out before the end of the year. All right, Brandon, let's get into the second round here.
Let's go with. All right, guys. I'm not going to put it on the list. I'm not putting Barbarian on here. I'm sorry. I wanted to get into spoilers about it, but I'm picking. This is my other film that I'm picking. Mm-hmm. I'm picking Glass Onion, A Knives Out mystery.
Have we all seen it?
No.
Nope.
No? Okay.
But I'm not going to get into spoilers about it. No spoilers. But I am just continually impressed by Rian Johnson's ability to make films for the mainstream. His movies are all like 4.5 star movies, and he's hitting it consistently. And it's not like, oh, he's just pumping out the same movie every time, even when it's a franchise film. Mm-hmm. I think he's like so good at mastering. This is an interesting concept. There are a few things that don't work for me in terms of like how it's written or like how it's performed, but I think his structuring as a director, mixed with some of the writing he does, because he knows movies like no one. I think he's one of the best modern filmmakers in terms of how he uses knowledge, uses his love for cinema, and puts it on the screen. He knows how to. He read that book about stealing from other filmmakers that we all had to read when we entered film school, and it's on display here. I think he absolutely nails it. I'm so upset that Netflix has his two Knives Out movies, at least his next two, because it's unfortunate the way they're handling this situation, but it's another fantastic mystery. And I think it does another thing that he's really good at, which is playing with story structure, which, as somebody who has written films before, written short films and stories, I'm fascinated by that, because I'm so bored by the same structured movies, whodunits, slashers. I love them. They're formulaic, but it's boring after a while. Once you watch one, you watch them all. But like, he has found a way to like make me hate and love characters, throw stories on their heads. They're funny. Him and Daniel Craig together are like a masterstroke. I have not like enough good things or bad things to say about them. I good things, because there's not like a lot of bad. It's just like it's just not 100% there. Like, I'm not emotionally invested in his movies. You know what I mean? But God, he has me in the brain every time I watch his movies. I'm like intrigued from start to end. Can't wait to rewatch this one.
It's a good one. Chris, you haven't seen it yet, because it's so unfair how this movie came out, you know? Like, it was literally a week, and it was the week before Thanksgiving where I feel like I was the busiest, you know? Where I thankfully, when I was out in Napa, I found a little theater playing this film, and I was just like, guys, we are going. I cannot wait till December, you know, till Christmas to go see this, you know? We need to watch.
And I would have supported on the big screen.
Me too.
You know?
Because it's so fun to watch this whole mystery unfurl with the audience, and it was. I think I didn't love it as much as the first one, because what I loved about the first one was how he really turned the whole murder mystery on its head in terms of its structure, you know? Where at the beginning we know who really did it. Like, we know who physically did it, but we don't know who really did it, you know? This one, I think it was pretty obvious from the beginning who did it, and it was. But the way he goes about it, it's still really cool, you know?
Entertaining. It's
entertaining. It's also another, you know, Rian Johnson, he's very tapped in to what's going on today.
There are so many crazy, like, references and, like, not in a, like, Easter egg sort of way.
Yeah.
Dun.
I mean, if you've read my review, maybe you'll know one reference. But also, like, what this movie's about, like, he's targeting one specific person in this movie.
And they're in the news.
And it's crazy how this film released while, like, this individual was in the news like more than ever, you know?
Yeah.
Like, how that is just like some, you know,
luckiness.
He was so lucky to get that out at the time. And it's a very satisfying movie for that, you know?
And it's got a great social commentary.
Yeah, I love that these are sort of like murder mysteries with great social commentaries, you know, very great. They're all, you know, all very connected to class. I think Detective Benoit, that's his name, right?
Benoit Blanc.
I think he's better than Bond. I think this is Craig's best, like,
I agree,
ever.
Which is so weird.
I love Benoit Blanc. He's like, I can't get enough of that Cajun accent. You know, you get to learn more about him as a person in this movie, you know?
He's not just the detective, like the what's the guy who's in the Agatha Christie, Kenneth Branagh's character?
Oh yeah,
Hulot or no, not Hulot.
Hulot? Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't remember. Anyway, Mustache Man. This dude's a lot more layered, and it's also crazy because it is a very relevant movie because of the beginning, you know, it's actually throughout of, like, this movie talks about COVID, you know.
Yeah, COVID exists in this universe. It's weird.
And COVID has an effect on, you know, on Benoit Blanc's character, and it's cool to see how, you know, he gets around that. And anyways, yeah, I don't want to get into the mystery. I do think it was a bit more obvious than the first one, but it's still entertaining nonetheless. And yeah, Chris, yeah, I think it's a must watch once it drops on Netflix.
I
And
know
if
I'm
you're
gonna watch it with my family.
if you're probably gonna be in town, I'll play at the new Bev. I know during New Year's, so I know Joey wants to go check that out too. Maybe you two can go pop over there and see it on 70mm. That'd be fantastic. All right, Chris, is there anything you want to say about Glass Onion? I know you haven't seen it yet.
I don't know. I don't know a fucking thing about this movie. I like Knives Out. That's it.
But that's good. That's good that you don't know anything about it.
I went in only having seen like 5 seconds of the movie from that Netflix first look. I never even watched the 2 trailers they dropped for it.
Yeah, I didn't watch any trailers. I just saw that poster of all them standing by the pool. That's all I saw. And that's good. All right, Chris, let's go into your second pick.
Okay, I'm picking a movie that neither of you have seen this year, which is kind of rare considering how many more movies you guys have seen than me. I'm picking, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Chan Jae-woo's documentary Blue Island.
Oh, what? Tell me about Blue Island. I haven't seen it.
So Blue Island tells a story about, it's a what's the word? Multi-format movie where it is documentary, narrative, and a prediction of the future. So it tells it. It doesn't obey any strict form in terms of narrative or anything like that. It is complete, like every 10 minutes it switches form.
That's cool.
It basically the whole thing is it tells a story about what it's like in Hong Kong now, where the dust has kind of settled, and it kind of like goes into how people are emotionally coping with the transition and what is happening there. Yeah, it's really interesting. There isn't really like a central character, but if there were one, there's this old man in the movie who is a real person, who fled mainland China by swimming across the river, being hunted for it, and eventually just finding a life in Hong Kong. And it tells a story of how people are leaving, and also how people who remain in the city are coping with the acceptance of the situation as it is. Yeah, it's a very depressing movie, but it's one that I'm very happy exists because it kind of similarly to when I talked about Revolution of Our Times, it does a good job of giving us a glimpse into what it's like. Yeah, it's a movie that it's not nearly as volatile of a film as Revolution of Our Times, because that movie kind of gets you going in your seat. This movie kind of lumps you into your seat and makes you kind of just sit there and have to come to terms with it. Yeah, it's a very depressing movie, but it is also a movie that I remember I didn't even really review this movie, but I wrote the quote that the people will never forget. There is actually this really great scene in the movie where the scene is between a British police officer, so set pre-1997, and a person living in Hong Kong, and it shows the discrimination that is perpetrated by the British police against the people of Hong Kong. But then it shifts, but then suddenly it's revealed that this scene is being filmed, and then the actors, quote unquote, who are still acting, actually have a conversation because the police officer and the person, now it's flipped because now there's hatred against the Chinese police officers by the Chinese people, or the Hong Kong people, I should say.
So would you say it's a lot like Close Up?
In a way, it is kind of Close Up, but more, I guess, politically charged rather than personally charged.
Well, you know how I feel about movies like that. So yeah. This sounds amazing.
Maybe you dig this. It is a little it's a bit splintered of a movie because the intercut between documentary and fiction isn't the smoothest in the world, but maybe that'll work for you. It still worked for me perfectly fine. But yeah, I don't know if this movie will ever be released publicly because it's technically illegal, but
shit.
Yeah, so we'll see. But throwing this out there because it's important. So this was my social and so important social movie pick for the year.
That's so cool. I love that. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie, that sounds amazing. Like the
Yeah.
structure and everything.
It's just there will never be like enough films to be made about what's going on in Hong Kong right now. Just
Yeah.
because I mean just watching, Joshua and Revolution of Our Times, like even though that tackles the same event, there's so many like different things that's going on and so many stories about people they have like and why they're protesting and why they're fighting and like what is happening to them, you know? And this sounds incredible of just like going into the future, is it sort of the filmmaker saying this is how this is going to end, or is it just like
It's more like this is how it is now.
this is how it is?
And it's really melancholic in that way.
Yeah, and and because this is how it's gonna be,
Yeah.
that sounds so fascinating. I love when documentary and fiction blend. If you've seen American Animals,
I need to watch it.
it's one of my favorite documentaries for that reason. Because it's not fiction. It's part dramatization and then part documentary, and the way that they weave that together is really cool. And it sounds like Blue Island's doing something kind of similar, but I still like really appreciate and respect that immensely. Did you see this in like one of those film festivals that we went to, Chris?
Not a film festival. It was literally just like a one-off screening that the whoever was producing it, I guess, like was able to book in LA. Yeah, they literally showed it for 2 days and they had like 2 screenings each day, and then it was gone.
Damn it. Because this sounds amazing. I hopefully one day. It says it's on Amazon. Like, can you buy the disc of it?
Let me see. Hang on. Blue Island movie 2022.
It's only $19 on Amazon.
I guess you can buy the DVD of it.
Well, shit. Maybe I might have
You know what?
to do that.
I'm only 4 left in stock. I might actually have to do
Chris,
it.
get it.
Just to archive
You gotta
it.
get it, dude. You gotta get it just to archive it.
Yeah.
Holy shit. This movie's too important not to buy. Like, even though I haven't seen it, that sounds crazy. And then host a movie night. Let's watch it. Like, I'm okay to get a little bummed out and sad. It's important,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Great pick.
I'll add it to my cart right now. And
Do it.
next
Hell
time I do
yeah.
something, yeah, I'll do it. All right. Who's next?
All right, I'm next. All right, this is a film we've all seen, so we can all talk about it. I'm sort of talking about a film that also plays into the now and what will be. I think it's one of the greatest pieces of science fiction we've had in the modern age. It was the return to one of the most prolific science fiction directors. I'm talking about Crimes of the Future. Is my next pick.
Oh, wow, Cronenberg.
Yeah.
Ethan and I watched this together.
We watched this together, and I've never felt like I can't remember the last time I've watched such a provocative film, quite frankly. It's such an amazing thought experiment, which is that's what science fiction's all about, is letting the storyteller say, what if this was our world, and it's such a cool storyteller. I mean, such a cool story that sort of relates to what's going on today. So Crimes of the Future is about eventually, what if all humans cease to feel pain and ever get sick? And it's sort of, this is sort of a parallel to our own desensitization of sexuality and desire that's been happening, and violence the violence goes into the sexuality and sexual violence, that has come from the technological advancement of the internet and sort of the anonymity of, being an individual on the internet and being able to say and post and do whatever you want. This is what Cronenberg's trying to say, because once we as people get completely desensitized to our sense of pain and sickness, how do we entertain ourselves now? Because sex isn't seen as something that's pleasure, because it's like he sort of makes a statement that like we find sex pleasurable because of our own mortality, and once we lose that, what's next? So in this, surgery becomes the new sex. Opening yourself up, looking inwards inside our own bodies, and creating art with that is like the most profound thing in this new dystopian future. And it's not a grand spectacle science fiction film. It's very small. It feels very neorealist, This film is like, it's like in like the rubbles of like this, it looks like an Italian village,
It's like, yeah, you nailed it on the head.
Yeah, because like buildings are like the settings around them, like people stopped caring about society once. It's an interesting thing. They stopped caring about their infrastructure, and they just start caring about themselves.
You'd think that like in a society, and I think it's depicted as it in most media, like with a society that is utopian almost, with no pain, no like no sickness and whatnot. You'd think it would be like, oh, this is like that meme, like society if we didn't have, or if we had this, or something had happened, and it's like that utopian Meet the Robinsons like society.
Yeah.
But instead, it's like you said, it's like a crumbling infrastructure. There's black markets and griminess everywhere. It's like but also like a lived in, what is it, like organic feeling?
Yeah.
With like the technology, which is really gross, but really cool.
Yeah. And it's just so great. It also talks a lot about, but it's not all bad. Like,
no, it's not.
It's not, because there's also this like through line of the rise of the plastic eaters, where people's bodies are evolving so much that they can't they can't help, like the only pain that really causes people is when they consume organic materials for some people, and then there becomes like this sort of subgroup of people who can only eat plastics, and they're seen as like something that's disgusting and that needs to be stopped.
It's like Avatar.
Sure. But this, I feel like, is how Cronenberg is saying, we have become very desensitized because of the internet, but the internet has also gifted people who, who are able to make communities with one another and feel more validated in how they feel about themselves and how they see the world, especially, I feel like specifically in terms of sexuality here, because this is it's a very sexual movie, sexual allegory. This is sort of how he works through that, how like the internet has also like led to like these groups of people being able to find each other, where in the outside the digital realm they're not as well accepted, and I just think it's a very like beautiful and profound film, even though it's very disgusting, because you see a lot of insides of people's bodies, but it's great. I love it. I saw it with Brandon, but I never really gauged like how you really felt about it, Chris. Like, what did you think about Crime Future? Because I saw you watched it on Letterboxd. Chris,
I think it's
not you, Chris.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I quite like this movie. He's gone. I quite like this movie. I gave it a 4 out of 5. What really drew me towards this movie is, I mean, I watched The Fly like shortly before having seen this movie.
Yeah.
And I really liked The Fly. I thought it was and this movie like lives up to what I liked so much about The Fly. Like you said, I really liked how it kind of spoke truths about like you said, like how sex and violence are becoming, the line between them is being blurred, and like you can chop that up to like the demystification of those notions because of, like, for example, the technological advancement of the internet and whatnot. I like how it talks about like voyeuristic tendencies and like how we have like a weird obsession with abomination.
Yeah.
I like how it explores human sexuality and also like this kind of like underground like because this movie has this very like almost like, I don't want to say steampunky. There's a word for this. Like, I guess the word I can think of is like flesh punk. You know what I mean? It's like, it feels like there should be a word for this. Yeah, but this, like, you know, I think we talked about this before, but like these like kind of body horror exploitation films are a little tricky for me because I'm not the best at stomaching this stuff. I still have yet to see finish Tetsuo. Um, but yeah, like I really did like this movie. I think it was a surprisingly profound movie in what we just talked about with like sexuality and violence and technology. I think my biggest praise of this movie is like I've always felt like when it comes to science fiction, it is probably the forefront genre for being able to craft like really ambitious pieces surrounding very intimate things about the human experience. Because sci-fi naturally just lends to us being able to do outlandish things where other genres would be weird to do so. Yeah, no other director I think could have pulled it off the way Cronenberg did, and this has Cronenberg all over it, and he works his magic.
Oh yeah. Okay, now you, Brandon. So
I think it's.
I had a deep conversation with you once we got out of the film. I just wanted to hear what Chris thought.
It's more Verhoeven than it is Cronenberg at times. I
can definitely see that.
Yeah, I think like it does play upon like Starship Troopers and RoboCop in terms of its commentary. But I think in terms of its body horror, it's obviously more Cronenberg. You know, Verhoeven has body horror, but not like this. And we talked about it a lot. I really love the ending of the movie and how it kind of brings together all of what we're saying. And it's like very voyeuristic in that sense because it's asking the viewer to view a movie while also viewing it through the contextualization of being a human being who lives in a world where this is not possible.
Mm-hmm.
At least to our small knowledge of the future.
Right.
And I think that's extremely fascinating to play with. I, like Chris, gave it a 4. I didn't love it as much as you did, Ethan, but I recognize it's like such a impactful movie in terms of what it's saying. And I think a lot of people were going too hard on the acting and the performances and how Cronenberg directs dialogue, because in a world like this, they would talk like that.
Yeah,
people
they lose
would just
their
be
humanity.
like that.
People they call these characters like really dull and lifeless. I'm like, yeah, that's the fucking point, bro.
And Kristen Stewart's performance, I like her more here than I did in Spencer. I'm not gonna lie. I think she's much more interesting.
Yeah, she's incredible here.
So, but yeah, very good movie. I can't wait to see more from him and his son.
I'm glad you brought up the ending because I feel like this movie and then there's another movie which I feel like we will talk about because I know one of us loves this movie so much, but they were literally like my favorite two like ending shots of a film. I love the end shot of this film where he's finally feeling this character Viggo Mortensen who's been struggling, you know, with he's trying to feel in this movie. You know, that's why he does his art is he's trying to like feel something for himself, and by the end he finally gets that sense of euphoria, and it's really beautiful, you know, and it's just like still frame, and I loved it so much. Okay, let's get into the final round here. We're already an hour in, but that's okay. This is our end of the year supersized episode, so I'm not really worried about how long we're going. You know, we're having fun. We're talking about great movies. Let's keep going. Brandon.
All right. My last movie. If I can't pick my first favorite movie of the year, I'm picking my second. I'm picking Todd Field's Tar.
I knew you'd pick Tar.
It's so good. I was mesmerized by this movie. I saw this like its opening weekend. Like 5 people were in the theater at the AMC Norwalk, and I was sitting in the back, and I was enthralled by the 2.5 hour slow burn, highly structured cancel culture movie, but also a movie that dissects art. That's kind of a ghost story, and it's a very modern movie. Like, we've talked about this before on the podcast when talking about our best of the year or best of the decade sort of lists, how it's very hard for filmmakers and artists to capture the moment of the year they live in, or at least the preceding year they lived in a way that feels topical, in a way that would feel lasting. I think First Reformed and Parasite do it really well. I know we've talked about that a lot. think Minari and Nomadland sort of tackle that too, even though Minari's a period piece. But when I think about Tar, I think this movie and Glass Onion by approximation capture it so well. Tar is a great movie about a composer who is essentially a narcissist who knows all about art, but has let the fame and ego, or let her fame go to her head and build her ego. And for a lot of this movie, if you don't know it's a fictional piece, you do think it's a kind of a biopic of this person's career.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's incredibly fascinating to do, because there are scenes where the camera doesn't move, or there's one scene where the camera moves a whole lot. And for both of those scenes, I was transfixed by the dialogue and the performances and the line delivery and Todd Field's direction and what he's trying to say about like society in general and where it's headed and where it's been in the past few years.
Mm-hmm.
But also like how we view women in positions of power, but also how certain people don't really deserve that power and how they utilize that power against the people in their lives to their advantage, like a weapon. It's like the Yorgos Lanthimos movie, The Favorite, which I also adore. And frankly, it's hilarious in the most dark way possible. It's scary at times, and I don't know. I just find it to be a metamorphosis, and I can't wait to get this movie on DVD, Blu-ray, 4K. It's just incredible.
Oh, it is a I don't even know where to begin with Tar. It's a great movie. And I can't believe like a film that great is only my 20th favorite movie.
Yeah,
that just
right?
goes to show how insane this year has been, because I just remember like it's 3-hour film, but it goes by in an instant because you are just so sucked into this person's ego and just this.
She's trying to stop something from happening, but it's not working.
It's literally like a Shakespearean tragedy, you know?
Yeah.
Where we're just watching this egotistical person try to just control everything in her life, and at the end of the day, it's an ultimate example of this, just the simple phrase, power corrupts, you know, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, you know. And this is just, it's one of those like stories where you just see this person try, you know, who fails with the power that she has, you know, and it talks a lot about, you know, a lot of big social issues that are happening in 2022, you know, like cancel culture and, you know, the scene in the lecture hall where, you know,
artists.
It's hard. It's hard because, you know, Tar is kind of spitting in that scene, but it's tough because like, but she's one of those people, you know, too, you know, that like that
it's like hypocritical, right?
It's super hypocritical, but she's right. And if it was coming from anyone else, it would be it's I think that's my favorite scene in the film, just because it sets up everything else that's going to happen in the movie, you know? And it's a 1 or 2, which is insane, you know?
Inciting incident.
I didn't
even realize it.
I didn't even notice it was a 1 when I was watching it, you know?
Neither did I.
Until after the movie, everyone's like, that 1 was crazy, right? I was like, what was it? Like the lecture. And I was like, what? But, and then and Brandon warned me. He said, "Don't look up anything before you see this movie," because I didn't know. Spoilers if you haven't seen it. It's essentially a biopic. You know, it's about someone who this is someone's actual story, and that didn't kick in until, honestly, this is probably my 3rd favorite ending of this year. I think this is in my top 3 of, you know, spoilers for Tar. If you haven't seen Tar, go watch it. You know, when she's in, is it Taiwan? Or is it Thailand?
It's a Southeast Asian country.
Yeah. She's putting on this concert, and you start to hear this music, and so this movie, the credits roll at the beginning, which is also super cool. And I saw in the credits, and I'm like, why are they crediting Monster Hunter? in this, like that for some reason I just darted right to that in the credits, like, what the fuck, is there gonna be monster in this game? And then I forgot about it, and then at the end like it, the camera goes from her and then to the audience,
The
and it's
cosplay.
all these people in costumes, and I'm like, and my first thought was like, did she like join a cult or something? Like, what is this? Like she just got canceled and moved to Southeast Asia and joined this cult. But then I realized, wait, she's performing a Monster Hunter concert? Because I've been to, like, not for Monster Hunter, but I've been to one of these video game concerts before. So then I instantly recognized what was going on here, and I was like, holy shit. And then I was like, this has to be a real story, That's
And
just
it's
so
like,
weird and random for it to be
they
Monster Hunter.
they took like it's a fictional person, but they took the real person and made a story about them
Yeah.
in a way that is so utterly compelling.
It reminded me of The Master in a way.
A little bit, yeah. I would say I like this far more than that movie, just because I think the second half of The Master kind of falls off. I think PTA gets in his own head.
I disagree. I love that.
well-
I think The Master's my favorite.
But
PTA.
like this, I think it knows what it is the whole way through and sticks to it, and I think it earns the rise to fall, story.
And last thing I'll say before I pass it to Chris is one of the best match cuts ever too. When she's running.
Oh, the
when
fall.
she's running from the dog and the fall. Holy shit! Just the crack from the fucking hand roller. Oh my god. Okay, Chris, you saw this film before any of us.
Yep.
And you kind of knew that Brandon was gonna love this movie.
Oh, I knew the moment this movie, like after the first 10 minutes, I was like, "Oh, Brandon's gonna love this."
Yeah. So tell us what you think about Tar.
Yeah, I honestly was pretty intimidated going into this movie just because it's like 3 hours is daunting for me regardless, but also like for it to be like a intimate character drama, I was like, okay, like I've gotta buckle in for this one. But honestly, like I all of my doubts about that, or like reservations, faded away within the first like 10 minutes because it is a wildly stirring movie. Excuse me. Yeah, it's a movie where like I remember going in and just feeling so like overwhelmed by like how powerful it was. Todd Field's direction, who I've never seen any of his other films. The cinematography is fantastic. And I think like for me, what I found most interesting is like put aside any conversation this movie has like about cancel culture or anything like that. Like even with all of that added like nuance to this movie and thematic resonance, Tar is interesting simply because this character is interesting to me.
Yeah.
And I like, for example, one of my big takeaways about this movie is I find it fascinating that like how Tar's like ego and reputation is built, whether that be conscious or unconscious. I wrote about this in my review. Like whether it be conscious or unconscious, a lot of that is derived from imitating the lives of men in her field.
Yeah.
And so then we go in, and then you can lead that into a conversation about like self-destructive behavior and this like that undying pursuit of exceptionalism that is often propagated in like fields such as orchestra composing. Yeah, so and this movie, I really don't want to give away the ending, but the ending of this movie, like that really stuck with me. It is like, and yeah, so ultimately like this is like one of those like very ambient character dramas for me. I also really like the added like little supernatural element that comes through, especially in like when the shots hang on for just a little bit longer, so you might catch something in a mirror or in the back room or something like that. I really like that, and it speaks volume, and like I love like how it speaks volumes about, and like even when it like it blurs the line between is this real, is this in her head, blah blah blah. I love that because it's still, regardless of whether or not it's real or whatever, it still speaks true to the character, and it informs the character.
She's like haunted by the vestiges of her consciousness, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And it's like to see that like brought forward with this very like, usually like, you hear that as like, oh, like being haunted by blah blah blah, like you think like some scary shit in the corner, but like it's very it's surprisingly gentle, but also really aggressive because it leaves such an impact. Yeah. So this movie worked really well for me. It's I think if this movie was actually close to making my pick. It was this movie is this top 1, 2, 3. This movie might be top 5 for me this year.
It's so good.
It is really fucking good. Also, the reception to this movie, big mixed bag for me. I've been hearing so many people love it, so many people hate it.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean,
It frustrates me.
I think a lot of people who hate it they're kind of like the students in that classroom, which is kind of interesting.
That's funnily enough because a lot of students in my grad school classes did not like it, but also my cinematography professor didn't like it.
I think they have a hard time not analyzing movies, but it's you don't set yourself apart as a viewer sometimes. You have to.
And I'm seeing this as like also a very this problem in movies is becoming more and more prevalent. Like, so many people are having a hard time getting behind protagonists who aren't morally right. You know?
Yeah, I
Licorice Pizza
as well.
This is why Licorice Pizza became like a big thing. This is why just so many other like people.
Nightmare Alley.
But just so.
I don't want to bring up this movie, but Joker.
Yeah, I guess I'm not a big fan of the movie, but
you're not a fan for different reasons.
I agree. Yeah,
Oh,
different reasons.
But a lot of people are not a fan for this reason. Where it's just like for some reason these days, people like they don't want to get behind movies where their main characters aren't like where their morals don't match their own.
Shining examples in the sky.
Yeah.
You know.
And it's just like I just find it bizarre because like I feel like the more you're challenged by characters in film, like, and more a director is able to show you a person's perspective who's completely different from your own, even if you don't agree with it, that makes incredible filmmaking.
Yeah.
You know, when you're able to step into that person's shoes who's completely different to you, you know?
Yeah. And also I think it's interesting like that people feel that way because more often than not, I feel like movies don't make an attempt to absolutely justify someone who doesn't hold the same like popular belief as another person. Like, for example, like we were just talking about, let's say Joker. I don't think that movie doesn't do like I don't think that movie propagates that Joker is right. And I mean, it suggests that like there's larger things at play about why this would happen, but I don't think they're saying Joker is right for what he did. You know what I mean?
No.
So like I find that interesting. Like what like it's almost like we need like a lot of audiences need to have the icon to look up to. You know
I just don't understand why there's this people don't like the moral gray area. For me, like you guys said, I didn't really like Joker, not because of that. I didn't like it for Todd Phillips' direction, which is crazy why he got nominated for Best Director. But I mean, I think, but what it's saying or what it's trying to do, I respect, even if it is a little predictable. But like, I don't understand people nowadays when it comes to that. I think that's just because we've gotten used to the superhero movie.
I think it's simply just because of the times where everything is so highly politicized, whether we like that or not. You know, I honestly kind of like it when my movies are a lot more socially relevant and politicized, you know, because it just like it makes it all the more satisfying. But at the same time, I think entertainment is becoming a lot more politicized, you know, and it's people are trying to now wanting to escape more than ever because of how social media is now telling us everything that's happening in the world all the time, where they just want to see stories where people are good, you know, and that's what's sort of like, that's my sort of justification. I'm still sort of confused on it. I don't know. But I don't know. It's like, and I think also big popular movie, like blockbuster movies are also kind of spoon feeding audiences this sort of thing. Like, I mean, like the most glaring example is like Strange World for me. Like, I thought that movie was awful. I think that is a movie where it was just like an AI was going off a checklist of things that they like of what things that people agreed with, which I agree with, like, but it's just, it seemed more of like a checklist than a story, you know? And I'm like, I wish I could see a movie starring these characters where the movie's not about them saying who they are. It literally just them saying
who they are.
It's them being who they are, and like, I don't know, and has like living in their shoes. Instead, it's them just telling you, "Hey, I'm this. Hey, I'm this." You know, and I'm just like, that doesn't do anything, you know, for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, but that doesn't make you feel like a real human being to me, you know. And I just feel like a lot of Hollywood movies are doing that, where it's just like we're being spoon-fed characters who are this, but they're like, we know, we can see who they are, but we don't know like really who they are, you know. And then when filmmakers be like, hey, look at these characters, and they're like, they're not really great people. People are like, then this movie is horrible, you know. And I'm like, what? I don't know. It confuses me. But a polarizing film like that, like Tar, needs to be in this discussion because it was great for making this discussion, you know. And we love that, don't we?
We love that, folks.
We love that, folks.
Chris.
All right, Chris, what's your last pick?
All right, guys. All right, I am picking my art house film selection. I didn't expect to like this movie this much. Ethan actually betted I would be pretty lukewarm on it. I'm picking The Whale by Darren Aronofsky.
God damn it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I did not think I'd like this movie this much. So I went into this movie kind of just like thinking, okay, you know, Brendan Fraser's back. Gotta check it out. You know, seems like a good performance. You know, like nice to see him in a dramatic role, because you know I've always seen him as like the, you know, George of the Jungle. That's how I knew. I didn't know him as the Mummy guy. I knew him as George of the Jungle.
Yeah.
And like yeah, you know, to his credit, the guy was an absolute hunk. Yeah, and in The Whale, he is not quite that. So in The Whale, for anyone who doesn't know, The Whale centers around I'm going to quote Letterboxd here, a reclusive English teacher suffering from severe obesity as he attempts to reconnect with his estranged teenage daughter for one last chance of redemption. Yeah, this movie is very powerful to me. I didn't expect to come away feeling so connected to this character. I thought it was a surprisingly intertextual movie. It discusses notions of obvious things, right? Like body image, mental health, but it also goes the extra mile and talks about mortality, faith, and shows me like expresses a story that like is so universally empathetic. You know, and like this movie has gotten its fair share of flack for like some people have claimed that like this movie is it makes you like disgusted at this person. But like the thing is, like for me, I imagine like the disgust isn't used in like a derogatory way to be like, oh, like these people are gross, fuck them, blah blah blah. I feel like it's the disgust, quote unquote, is used in a way that generates empathy and understanding that this person's going through a very difficult thing, and as part of that is suffering through a situation that I don't think any of us can really understand. I mean, at least here, like none of us are in the position that he's in. Yeah, it's a very tragic story, almost Shakespearean in a weird way. I mean, this was a theatrical play to begin with,
and you can tell.
And you can tell it very much comes across that way. But it worked for me. I know like some people aren't as friendly to that kind of thing, but I think it worked really well. Performances all around, not even just Fraser. Sadie Sink and Hong Chow are especially great. Hong Chow, I think, holds her own against Brendan Fraser. I think actually there are times where I think she delivers even more nuance than him in her performance. I am actually really hoping that she would get an Oscar nom, but I doubt it because it's a hot year. It's a real hot year.
It is a hot year.
Mm-hmm.
I also like I think Sadie Sink plays the role really well. She knows what she's good at. Ethan and I talked about this. She knows what she's good at, but we're hoping that she'll break out of it soon because we don't want her to get typecast as should I say angsty teenage daughter, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, this movie is fantastic. I really connected to the movie. It's not perfect. Ethan and I talked about it. It does have a bit of a meme-worthy ending.
I've
leave
heard
it there.
that. I've heard
Yeah.
that, but I don't know what to expect.
It's he
Dad-
goes.
Careful, he hasn't seen it.
I'm just gonna say, this movie doesn't really feel like Aronofsky for the majority of it, but the ending, he goes a bit
It's
into his
straight
Aronofsky.
Aronofsky.
Yeah, it's very Aronofsky, and it's a bit jarring. That's all I'll say. You know.
Yeah, it's like they worked an element into this movie at the last second that was a little like eyebrow raising, but like it worked. But it's like a little like, I guess like I feel like it could have been handled with a bit more massaging. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But yeah, largely this worked really well for me. I connected very much to the character, and you know, like I just really like this movie. I think I personally really liked it. Ethan, do you have anything you want to say about it?
Yeah, it's a very profound film that, you know, I think when I walked out of it for the first time, I'm like, I don't know if I loved it, but now the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I'm sort of coming around to it tells a very poignant story about honesty, you know? Um, Brendan Fraser's character is an English teacher, and the thing that we've all been taught this in our film classes, you know, in our film writing classes, and our English classes in high school is like where is your like what it y- show me your voice, show me your honesty, you know. English teachers, like, they want you to write honesty because they want to see your personality on the page in your words, you know.
Mhm.
And that sort of theme of like Brendan Fraser being this champion of honesty in writing, um, sort of comes to that in life too when he's trying to reconnect with his family, and um, and then also sort of becomes a little bit ironic, you know, because like you said, it's sort of Shakespearean because he can't recognize that honesty for himself, but he can for others, which has sort of gotten him into like this situation, you know, that he's in, and you know, it's very much deals with grief and um you know, just grief and abuse, and it's it's a great film, but for me, I think what made me like not really love it was I didn't like Sadie Sink in this movie. I know a lot of people do, but I just think she plays her Stranger Things character in this movie.
I heard she's mean, like very mean.
She's mean,
so
but
mean.
but it goes back into the honesty because like her meanness like comes out to
She's straight up about it.
she's
Yeah.
real, you know? And I appreciate the point of her character, but it's just like she's just her Stranger Things, you know, she's just Max from Stranger Things. That's all I can see, you know? And that's unfortunate. But I hope that she can like sort of develop her acting skills to make to show me that she's not just that character. And then I can say I think people being disgusted by Brendan Fraser is a bit of a hyperbole, you know. But there are moments where Aronofsky kind of, you know, I'm like, okay, I can see why people see that. Of course, I never saw Brendan Fraser's character as disgusting, you know, even though he asked people in a lot of this movie, like, do you find me disgusting, you know? But I saw it like it's not himself is not the disgusting person. It's the effects of depression. That's disgusting, you know? And I think that's
Mhm.
like depression can take you to a very dark spot, and it can be gross. And I've experienced that myself, you know, of like just feeling gross when I'm depressed, you know? And I think that's what Aronofsky was trying to convey, but he makes certain choices through like you know, shot composition and score, honestly, that made me feel like, okay, I can see why people thought that, you know? Um, but overall, I just think the more I think about this movie, the more I think it's a truly great piece of film, you know?
My most anticipated, probably, of the films I haven't seen. This and Babylon, because I love Damien Chazelle. I really like Darren Aronofsky. Been watching more of his films, and I find him to be a very interesting director. So I'm really looking forward to this one. And I know it's very divisive, And in terms of its award prospects, it's looking at Best Actor, and then the rest is a big question mark because of
Guaranteed.
how divisive it is. Yeah,
He's
you know what I
guaranteed
mean?
Best Actor, and I
Not to
I
win.
want it.
I think Colin Farrell might win.
What?
Yeah, Colin Farrell's winning all the like critic circuits, and I know that doesn't overlap, but like it's momentum, and yeah, it's possible. It's heavily possible.
Well, I like Colin Farrell a lot in Banshees.
In Banshees, yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. All right, we're gonna get to
I already
my last.
know.
Y'all already know what I've been saving. I've been saving to talk about this movie all year. I think I talked about it a bit on our. I think our. We're back after hours, but this is not only one of the best film. This is not only the best film I've seen this year. It jumped into one of my favorite films of all time. I've seen it. I think I've seen it 8 times this year.
Me and Avatar, man.
Shit,
Yeah.
me. That's more than me and Maverick.
I saw it. I think I saw it 6 times in theaters, then twice at home, and that is Jordan Peele's blockbuster spectacular Nope. Holy shit! I cannot get over this movie. It is literally everything I ever wanted in a film just put in front of my face, you know? And it tells such a unique and like important sort of story about this industry that that we work in, and tells it through such a spectacular way that I feel like took me back to seeing like a block, like one of the first blockbusters in the 70s, it is just such a creative and ambitious film that like I'm so thankful that Jordan Peele was allowed this budget and he was trusted to just do his thing, because he makes such a fucking phenomenal film about Jordan Peele said himself, this is the sequel to Sally Gardner at the Gallup, which is like, that's insane. This is the sequel to the first moving picture ever made. Like that's how important this movie is, because Sally Gardner at the Gallup, we talked about in Twist movies. We have an in-depth discussion on that piece of cinema. It's a man riding on the horse, and then the sequel is like this movie's about the man riding the horse and why we don't know the man riding the horse, and why we should know the man. And it's sort of a monster UFO western about movies, about abuse, about being chewed up and spit out, and about the consequences we face for that. People don't understand why there is a chimp massacre at the beginning and middle of this movie. It's all about people who work in the film industry see mistakes made and see the consequences for it, but they see that it works, and they take in those skills. So like the sacrifices and like the trauma that people create to make a spectacle, to put on a show, we are so obsessed with that. It's now more than ever, now that we all have a camera in our hands, we all want to make a spectacle and to be somebody, and that's what this film is all about, and the dangers of that. And it's all told through this Lovecraftian UFO creature who is literally an eye that looms over Hollywood, and then chews people up and spits them back out. It's great.
There's so many angles you can read this movie from, and I feel like every time I discuss this movie with somebody, somebody has a different interpretation. And I talked about how like Rian Johnson and Damien Chazelle really know like films, but like Jordan Peele also really knows his movies. He literally he's a student of stuff, and he pulls stuff from like movies that aren't as mainstream, like you have your Taika Waititi's out there. Yeah, we like Taika except for Thor for the most part. the last Thor movie, but like he also does pull references just from more mainstream movies, whereas I feel like with Peele, he's much more playing with like the ideas that other films play with, and he's not just being like, oh, this is the Akira bike slide just for fuck's sake, just because,
Yeah.
you know. And I think that's incredible, and I've only seen this movie once, but it definitely stuck with me. For me this year, I was like, I want to prioritize, like, with the exception of Avatar, I wanted to prioritize watching new movies more so. And I didn't want to just rewatch, even though this is like one of the most foundational pieces of blockbuster filmmaking. I mean, I like this movie more than the new Avatar movie and Maverick, and the only one that I'm not as big on, or the only one that compares, is RRR, but we can't pick that movie. R.I.P.
The reason why I don't think I would have watched this so much, because I like other movies that are like were all timers. I only watched it like 5 or 6 times. There's so much to unpack with this film that like you learn something new every rewatch, and that was so exciting for me.
And it's frustrating how people are like, it's boring, it's not scary. I'm like, that's not the point. What the hell are you talking about?
Point. And
reanalyze it. Learn how to analyze a movie. You know, I hate to get mad at people because the general public doesn't do that. But
me too. I mean, there was some drama caused in our apartment because of someone who didn't like the movie. You know,
yeah.
Let's just say old Ethan had to go to the doghouse that night. But I defend the movies I love, even if that means sleeping in the doghouse for a night. Chris, what you think about?
Okay, I really like this movie. I think for me, like, I mean, okay, like I'll talk about the things I really love first. I think the craftsmanship behind this movie is amazing. Largely just the way it's made, nailed it, perfectly done. For anyone who doesn't know, one of the really cool things they did for this movie in terms of technical development is they invented a whole new way to shoot night scenes, night exteriors. Night exteriors are infamously known for being the hardest to shoot. They are the most grueling on the crew. They are long. They are hard. They're impossible to light. Lighting a night shoot exterior is like trying to get the sun to come out when there is no sun. And I literally mean that. You know, like without light, this shit doesn't work. None of it works. But the way they did it was they strapped an infrared camera into a prism to shoot into a like mirror prism that is conjoined with the IMAX camera, so that they've captured the exact same image, even though the infrared camera is literally looking upward into the mirror, and the IMAX camera is shooting this way, and they're shooting outward. It's a weird like thing. They did something in a weird way. They actually did something kind of similar for The Irishman for the de-aging shots.
Interesting.
Yeah, but yeah, the way they use it here is they use it to paint out to get the sky and like basically the idea is to maximize detail, and they did it. And like, you know, I'm sure visual effects played a role and they worked together and all that stuff, you know, blah blah blah. But visually fantastic, auditory, sound design's amazing. Yeah, it's fantastic. Jean Jacket is fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
Like that shot of I could probably
we can spoil it. It came out in July.
Yeah. So the door, like, there's a scene where Daniel Kaluuya's character is in the car. I think he's just waiting, and he's like, oh, "I'll check," and then he opens the door and just looks up, and then closes the door and just goes, "Nope." That shot of like that abyss in the night with the raining blood.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the shot of the house with blood falling over it. Like, that's an all-timer shot.
This is like Close Encounters plus The Shining
plus Jaws.
Yeah.
They just made the ultimate baby. It's so good.
Yeah, they so nailed that. Like you said, Ethan, this movie is about many, many things. I think for me, I think upon a rewatch, I would appreciate more of the themes. But the one that really did stick with me was I loved how
the Jupe storyline
talks about the what?
The Jupe storyline.
Oh well, yes, there's that. But like more largely speaking, I really like how it discusses, like Ethan said, the notions of spectacle, how we're obsessed with it. And how like we naturally like we have almost like this weird like human bred like fascination with it, where we're completely hypnotized by like, you know, you see anything that is even remotely worthy of your attention, you are glued to it. And I love how it talks about how that relates to how things are nowadays with like media consumption and all that stuff. I also really like you said, Brandon, the jupe stuff, where it talks about how we have this weird tendency now to turn tragedy and trauma into commodity,
Yeah.
which I think is naturally not a good thing. I think there's a way to express those things in creative ways, but I don't know if building a monument to your trauma is a good idea. But yeah, I love how it explores all that stuff. I think it's really fascinating. Brandon, I've noted in my I linked your review in my review because I liked your analysis of this film in terms of dominance.
And there's a lot of stuff that I don't talk about, you know.
Yeah, there's plenty to dissect this movie on. Like there are things like metaphysical, sociocultural, and like all these multifaceted things that like I don't even touch on, and I probably can really speak on because I haven't seen the movie 8 times like Ethan has. But nonetheless, I do have a lot of appreciation for this movie. This movie's sitting at a very, very solid 4.
Yeah.
I think if I rewatched it, I would bring it up. I think another thing that I would love, and I think this would be an improvement upon rewatch, is I didn't feel a deep, not deep, but like a strong emotional connection to the characters.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's the point. Like, you know, like I don't expect every movie to latch me emotionally in that way, but it just didn't quite nail that for me. But I wonder if that'll be remedied with a rewatch. Yeah, I know I sound really cynical when I'm talking about this movie, but I actually really do like this movie. I think the stuff with Gordy is fantastic. Yeah. I remember I sat in that movie and then the screen it started and I was like, okay, cool, you know, and then boom, studio set. I'm like, okay, maybe they're filming something, you know, it's about a movie about movies. So and then a monkey rolls up and I'm like, am I in the wrong? And then I literally pulled out my ticket to check if I was in the right theater. But yeah, I was in the right theater. And,
also, tonally, like nobody makes movies like Peele.
No.
It's not just a horror comedy. Like it just doesn't feel like a movie that Hollywood is making.
No.
You know what I mean? At all.
No,
like we stopped making these movies. I don't even know if Hollywood's even made movies like this before. That's how different it feels. You know?
It's just him. This is his voice, you know? Like he's not the next Spielberg, he's not the next Kubrick. He's Peele, you know?
And that's so weird. Who would have thought that?
Yeah,
5 to 10 years ago.
Yeah, back when he was doing sketches.
I predicted
funny sketch guy on YouTube. That's all I knew him as.
The moment I saw the Continental Breakfast sketch, I'm like, this is it. This is the guy. A delight for the senses, isn't it, my friend? I'll have what I'm having. So good. But you can tell you can tell in that sketch you can tell he's dipping his toes into like horror and like psychological stuff in the Continental Breakfast sketch. It's like I've been revisiting I've been so obsessed with Nope. I've been revisiting like the more like horror related Key and Peele sketches and just like all the most iconic ones, and you can literally see Peele's voice as like the director he's become now, like be developed in those sketches. And it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Okay. Jesus Christ. All right. We're almost at 2 hours for this show, but I mean, it's the 100th episode spectacular. And it's the best of 22. So it's the season finale. It's the season finale of Stack season 1. So, okay. Before we run down our list, do you guys want to just quickly list some honorable mentions? Because there were so many good movies this year.
Yeah.
Brandon, you want to start, then Chris, then I'll go. Okay.
Yeah.
So Brandon.
Okay. Well, of course, for final stack, I can't say RR, Top Gun Maverick, or Good Luck to You, Leo Grande. I think those movies are all good, but you know we chose them before. Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I can't believe the fans are gonna be so mad. That is a ravenous fan base. Holy shit! I didn't see that coming.
They will come for you if
film that's about somewhat like a very positive movie and like, you know, it has like the most ravenous fan base I've ever seen. They're like the elite of Battle Angel fans, except for this movie's good.
Yeah. Triangle of Sadness, Cha Cha Real Smooth, Barbarian, of course. I liked Bros, Turning Red, Sonic 2.
Yes.
Disney Channel's theme, a history mystery, Bros,
dog.
Jackass Forever, Banshees, The Black Phone, The Outfit, Belle, X, Doctor Strange, and Black Panther. I both love those movies. Decision to Leave, See How They Run, and underrated pick, Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. I think that movie needs to be rewatched and recontextualized in the future because
Yeah.
I think a lot of people went to it for the meme and then left being disappointed when it wasn't exactly what they thought it would be.
My parents love that movie.
It's a good movie.
That's one of my dad's favorite movies of the year.
Yeah.
So I might have to rewatch it. Chris, let's run down your honorable mentions.
Okay, honorable mentions were Top Gun Maverick's my favorite movie of the year by far. I've never seen a movie 7 times in the theaters. Let alone, I've never seen a movie 3 times in the theaters, let alone 7. After that, RRR, Fire of Love. That was fantastic this year.
Final
my
stack.
favorite documentary.
That was a fun.
The Fablemans, Decision to Leave, Barbarian. I just think even though it's not like it's a 3.5 movie for me, but I'm happy that movie exists, and I hope studios take notes.
Please give it us a Blu-ray, please.
Tar, as we talked about, Triangle of Sadness, Bardo, Nope, Avatar, and I want to shout out 2 movies that technically came out in 2021 but wasn't released widely until 2022.
Yeah,
which is when I saw the movie. Worst Person in the World, my favorite movie of 2021, and Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, because that didn't come out that didn't come out here until 2022.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna go. I already picked Nope. Batman, Everything Everywhere All at Once. The Northman, holy shit. Barbarian.
Northman.
This is another tricky one. This absolutely would have been on my stacked, but release dates made it a bit tricky. Memoria. I was gonna pick that instead of White Noise, but it literally came out in the US on December 26, 2021. And I'm just like, fuck, I can't choose
But it's never gonna come out.
But that's the thing about this movie. Like, when does it ever really come out? You know, it's just gonna permeate in movies. Like, I think every year it's gonna be its release date from now on. So I don't even know. That movie's fucking amazing. I wanted to pick that. Fire of Love, we already picked that. RRR, incredible blockbuster. Sonic 2, I like dead ass. That is like one of the best family action.
I told you liked it more.
You like family.
Yeah, I love family. And this one, Team Sonic, the Sonic Heroes, this movie like perfectly encapsulates the relationship between Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. I didn't pick that up until I rewatched it the other night. I fucking love this movie. Triangle of Sadness. It's the Parasite of this year. I loved it. Avatar: The Way of Water. Holy shit.
Who would have thought he'd say that?
I can't believe it. I love Avatar: The Way of Water. I love it. Okay. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. That was my favorite Marvel movie this year. Jackass Forever. The feature-length episode of Del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities, The Viewing, directed by Mandy director Pasmos Cosmatos. Amazing. Eric Andre's in it. Again, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. That might be my favorite animated movie this year. But again, came out in 2021. Petite Maman. Chris, I am surprised you picked this movie.
But
yeah,
it's
this
like
one was great. So
2021, 2022.
Yeah, it's
hard. The line is blurred between those 2 years.
Those award films that just sort of blur the line. It's hard.
Or
it's
Scream.
Really hard.
Or Scream. 2022 Scream.
Banshees of Inisherin, Tar, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I'm almost done. Bardo. Welcome to the World's Fair. Everyone, please go check out that film. Very interesting debut from non-binary director about sort of the internet and loneliness and ARGs and horror. It's super cool. Bros, Top Gun Maverick. Didn't love it as everyone else, but I still think it's a great movie. Glass Onion. The Hellraiser reboot is actually great. A horror reboot that was actually good. It surprised me. Turning Red. Pinocchio. Violent Night. We Met in Virtual Reality. And then I'll end it with The Bad Guys. I think another great animated film. That's 32 films I just listed. 32 honorable mentions. Because this year I could go to 50 if you wanted me to, but I'm not going to.
I'm gonna name the Predator movie that is.
Okay, there's one more film that I actually want to honorable mention. I thought this movie was this 3.5-star movie, but I mentioned my favorite endings in movies. I think Tar is it. Was my number 3. My number 2 is Crimes of the Future. My number 1, The Fablemans. That absolute favorite ending of the year. Holy shit. The horizon then it looks
It's at the
fucking
top.
terrible. If it's in the middle, it looks fucking terrible. It's just, and then it's one of the best ending shots. It's such a sincere ending. Oh my god. Okay, I'll end it there. So many movies. Mad God. Okay, no, I gotta stop. All right. Let's list our movies. Brandon, you go first. What was your stack?
I had Avatar: The Way of Water, Glass Onion: A Knives Out Mystery, and Tar.
Chris.
I had The Batman, Blue Island, and The Whale.
And I had White Noise, Crimes of the Future, and Nope. Guys, this is tough. I don't care what else is put on this list. For the love of God, can we please have Nope? That's all I ask.
Yeah, I'll put.
I don't think so.
Brandon, give it a 5. Come on.
You got. I don't care. I need Nope on this list. That's all I care about.
I approve of that.
Yeah, I guess.
Brandon, do you have one you want to put in the most?
Tar or Avatar, just because like I think both
Tar and Avatar.
No, or Avatar, not both.
Avatar.
Glass Onion's a really good movie. I just, I don't think it belongs to this. I just wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
And
Alright.
I could take either of them. You guys can vote on whatever you want for mine. Chris,
Okay.
what?
I
Blue
have a
Island?
proposal.
Or
I have a proposal.
okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we have Ethan's Nope. I
Yeah, of
think
course.
to pair that with that, we should do Avatar, either Avatar and Blue Island, or the Batman and Tar. Because I think we can I think those two are different enough from Nope that you can like kind of that those pairings are cleaner.
Yeah. That is so hard.
That's hard.
Fucking hell, bro.
Just watch all 9 movies.
I want Way of Water on this. I can't believe I'm saying this. I really want it on.
He sent me a
But I
crying
don't-
Kevin Smith selfie after this movie. I thought he was joking, but like he was like, I was like, oh, how was it? He's like, wait for my letterbox. I was like, at least did you like it better or worse? And he didn't respond.
And I did
he
the
just-
emoji.
And he just, and then I see his eye, and it's like I was like, is it a little wet? No, he's just like, and then, I guess we could talk about Tar more.
Well, no, this is it, guys. Final stacks they're out. It doesn't matter after this, remember?
I guess that's true. That's a hint for you viewers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Interviewers.
we are allowed to dip our toes back into what we've picked.
Yeah. New
Although we
season.
have watched more movies, so it's not
Yes.
like we're running out of movies or
And
anything.
we're gonna try. I am personally gonna try my best to always like pick different movies, for
Yeah.
future episodes. But
I
we can dip back in.
let's go with
I don't
let's go
want to
with
do.
Avatar.
Okay, if we go with Avatar, I want The Whale in there then, because we need a smaller film.
Yeah, I agree. But Blue Island's pretty small.
Blue Island's illegal, Ethan. That's pretty small.
That's true. And okay, you're right. Because that is such a relevant film for today.
And they're all blue.
And it's a documentary. The
All the
posters are all blue.
too. Yeah, and it is a documentary.
It's a blue year, and it's my favorite color, so that's why this year is so good. All right, that's fine.
It's
with
just
me.
Order.
Yeah, that works. Yeah. Because I would try and make the argument for Tar and Batman as well, but we've already talked at length about Batman,
Yeah.
and also as
We'll
much
get
as
back
I
to
love that movie, I literally picked it. Like we don't need to throw a superhero movie in here if we don't have to.
No. There's
It's
so
fine.
many other great movies. People are tired of
Yeah.
superhero movies. Let's give them something that's really great.
Let's give
Yeah.
him something
But
that
I will
really
say,
cooks.
watch Batman. Batman's good.
Batman's amazing. It's the best superhero movie of this year.
in years. Yeah, in years, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Actually,
I like the
Sorry,
Suicide
we're
Squad
talking
more
about this.
than the Batman.
Endgame is the best superhero
How
movie
the
ever
Suicide Squad was also good.
And-
Okay,
and-
sorry. Let's get back to it. Yeah. Okay. How about that? Blue Island, Avatar, and Nope.
made. In that order, I think is good too. I love Nope's ending. It's crazy how there's no dialogue. For,
I
like,
want
the
no.
last
I
I
think
want
hour.
to. I want to start it with Nope. I think Nope should kick off this thing. It's crazy.
So what do you think ends it? You
I
think
think-
Avatar?
I
Because
think-
it has
I
like
think
Do,
a
do
Avatar-
not. Yeah, I was about to say don't end it with Blue Island because that ending is.
I think we
sad.
end this by taking people to Pandora. I think.
and go see these in the theater.
Yeah, go rent out a theater, guys. Let's rent out a theater and triple feature. all
You know, in a
these.
way, Avatar Way of Water might actually be a good, like it actually like ends it because of
Because of
what
more?
happens in Blue Island. The meaning of that movie transitions over because it's like home is not where you are; it's who is around you. You know, family.
Bam. Yeah. All right, let's do it.
Okay.
Let's
All right.
and we can also get those famous last words one more time, which I hold
Oh,
so
yeah.
near and dear to my heart.
Yes.
Okay, so this is stacks. As far as we know, final stack of our most favorite 2022 movies. Too many twos. 2022 movies. One of the best years in film that I think I've ever experienced in my entire life. Probably since 2017, 2019 are up there, but I think this one blows both out of the water.
I think this is our 1982
This might
or 99, where it's like mind-blowing stuff.
I'm gonna say 1982, 1997, 2022. Those are my three favorite years of all movies.
1939 is pretty good.
All right, you old fogey.
1957.
You old fogey. Shut up, you old fogey. No one remembers that time. All right, let's start with our first pick. Our true and form black. Nope. It's Nope. I can't even talk. This movie's so fucking incredible. There's a giant camera lens that looms over Hollywood and sucks people out and spits them out. That's how incredible this movie is. It's just gonna be boiled down to that. That's all you need to know. There's chimps. There's little gray men. When I watched that scene where the park kids prank the Haywards. You ask friends of the show, Joey and Tori. I was yelling and screaming and pointing at the theater screen, and after that scene ended, I had to run out because I was about to piss myself. It was even though it was just a prank, and when that scene ended, I said, "Fuck this movie," because it got me. It got me good, and I'll never forget seeing this at the Universal City Walk. Holy shit! Nope. I want to go watch this movie again. I might watch it tomorrow. I don't care. I love this movie so much.
You own this movie.
I know I own it, so I'm gonna go. I might watch it after our movie night. I don't care. I don't care if I stay up. Fuck it. Nope. That's our second pick.
All right. Our second film is a documentary narrative hybrid directed by Chan Che-woo from 2022, obviously. It's titled Blue Island. It's a stirring film about the state of Hong Kong in the current year, telling the story of what it's like for many of its citizens to go through what is going on in the region. And yeah, definitely recommend if you can find a way to see it. I would highly recommend it. It is currently on sale on Amazon. There's 3 DVDs left, so if you're lucky, you know. So yeah, but yeah, really like this movie. Go check it out. Great and important piece of film.
Brandon, preach to the choir, please.
Say the words. Say the words. Say the words, Millhouse. Say the words.
And our last film.
Oh.
Avatar: The Way of Water. The most shocking turn of events happened with this movie. Ethan actually likes an Avatar movie.
Not only likes.
He loves it.
I love this movie.
And it's an incredible foray into blockbuster cinema, but it's also intimate and personal as much as it is spellbinding and visually stunning. Great end to the stack. Great end to 2022.
And a great end to stack season 1. Holy shit.
Holy shit, wow. That took a while to get to episode 100.
Hey.
We did it.
2 hours. I think, is this our longest episode?
I think the DC movies episode with Nat.
How can we extend this to beat this one?
No.
So I was
that.
thinking fucking no.
Sorry, Bones and All. Bones and All.
Should we talk about our blind spots? I don't know. We don't have
Yeah,
any
okay, which
blind
ones
spots.
do we need to see? I need to see Babylon. I need to see my blind spots because I don't know them. I need to see fuck. One
EO.
more.
I want to see EO.
I want to see EO.
I also want to see EO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see
Flux Gourmet is a small one that I never got to see. 3,000 Years of Longing. I never got to see it, but
I never saw that
See
either.
that? What? You
No.
didn't see that one?
Yeah, neither of us saw it.
I want to see The Menu. It looks fun. I don't know. That one came out.
The
during
trailer was
busy time.
overplayed.
Trailer
Yeah.
was overplayed, but I heard people liked it, so I kind of want to go see it. You know,
Yeah,
Empire of
I'm
Light.
same.
I still want to go
Yeah.
check that out, even though there's mixed stuff. You know, Chris has seen it. He says it's okay.
It's good.
But it's Sam Mendes. I still want to support the dude. You know.
Yeah.
And it's
Good
my
director.
boy. And it's my boy Deakins. You know, can't go wrong there.
Your
Yeah.
boy.
He's
It's
my boy.
he's our boy.
Nah, just
He
me.
belongs to us
I'm
all.
just kidding. You guys listen. Maybe I'll think of some more. Chris,
Yeah,
what about you? What are your blind spots?
Some of mine were. I'm just curious to see this movie. I don't know what I'm gonna think of it, but I kind of want to see Bones and All.
It's really good.
The Menu. Banshees of Inisherin. That is next on my priority list since I have like a week or so while everyone's gone. Del Toro's Pinocchio. Women Talking. Even though I will say I saw the trailer for Women Talking, and like I love what this movie's going for. But my God,
Color grading
I
is
was not.
awful.
Yeah, the color grading did not work for me.
I also
Um,
really want to see that movie, but the color grading is just horrendous. It reminds me of Emancipated, that horrible Will Smith slave movie that came out.
Mm.
Not
Glass Onion I haven't seen. Babylon I haven't seen. While going to World's Fair. I'm curious how I feel about Cha Cha Real Smooth, just because I've heard the name so much. I don't know anything about it.
Cha-cha
It's fun.
smooth. I think you'll like it, Chris.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
probably my most anticipated for the rest of the year, technically, is Broker. I really want to see Broker.
Mine are The Sun, just for the meme of it. Armageddon Time. I missed it. I'm very
Oh,
upset.
yeah.
Same here.
That's
I
a
missed
Hopkins.
that.
Is that Hopkins?
That was
I played for like 2 weeks.
James Gray, right?
Yeah, and I
No, I
loved
mean
Ad
like
Astra.
Hopkins, like the director.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah,
Hopkins?
James Gray.
Yeah.
James Gray, who did Ad Astra.
And then Ticket to Paradise. Spirited. I really want to actually see that movie. I missed
Spirited.
I have no,
Yeah.
I'm never gonna see that movie in my life.
Duel, that what was it, Riley Stearns movie that was in theaters for like a weekend. Big Bug.
Oh
I want to
Big Bug.
dance with somebody. That Whitney Houston movie.
Is that out yet? That comes out in like a week.
This
I know it's soon. I think it's this coming weekend.
Broker. Yeah. After Yang, I didn't see it, but I really wanted to.
I love what is his name?
I haven't seen it.
Kogonada.
Kogonada, dude.
Yeah.
Columbus, such a good movie. I need to see that.
And I'm checking.
While you're checking, I
For
have
the-
another one that I want to shout out. It was on A.O. Scott's Best of 2022. It's a Rwandan science fiction film called Neptune Frost, which I really want to see. It's on Criterion Channel. It was one of his favorite movies that year.
Yeah.
I want to check that out.
This movie technically came out the year before, but it was like one of those ones that was later, so they got its wide release later. Did you guys see The Humans?
No.
No.
But I wanted to.
Looks
Steven
good.
Yeun, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
Fuck, yeah, I need to see that one too.
Uh,
It reminded me, it looked like Mass to me. You know, the film Mass.
Yeah. I love those.
They're
Tori and I were talking
I-
about Mass earlier today.
I want to see A Man Called Otto.
That's on my watch list as well.
Wait,
I
did that
wanna
come
see-
out?
No, it's coming
That
out.
comes
this week.
out. That comes out. Yeah.
Damn, we're beating good.
I Love My Dad. That Patton Oswalt where he catfishes his son movie came out. It's cool.
Oh, really?
That sounds funny.
Yeah, it sounds funny. There's Causeway, that Jennifer Lawrence and Brian Tyree Henry movie. I love Brian Tyree Henry.
Oh, yeah.
One of the only remakes I ever want to watch that from a foreign film. Living, starring Bill Nye. And I missed
Oh.
Fresh at the beginning of the year. I kind of wanted to watch that.
Oh,
And
yeah, that's
Father
on Hulu.
Stew.
I have
Father
one more I
Stew!
want to throw in.
Yeah, of course your white ass wants to go see Father Stew.
Yeah, love Mark.
I have one more I want to throw in there.
Go for it.
It's on Netflix now. I'm just curious because I'm wondering what this is. I want to see The Good Nurse.
Oh yeah, the Eddie Redmayne movie. I heard he's really
I thought
good.
that was a show. It's a
No.
movie?
No,
Yeah.
that's The Good Doctor. That's a show.
Oh.
That's the Freddie Hyman.
I'm not gonna lie. When I
Different
heard
British.
the title, I was like, "Oh, they're doing a movie adaptation." Like, and I looked at the trailer, like, "Nope, that's definitely not it." Very different.
Anyways,
Okay. That's enough from our mouths. Let's please share.
season.
This year's had so many good movies. If you're listening, please share
your top 3 or 5.
Yeah.
or
top
something.
3.
Comment them
Top
below.
3, 5,
Love to hear 'em.
10, 50. I don't care. Put as many movies you like. What movie spoke to you this year? There's so many good ones.
We can't
Um,
wait to see you guys with our new format.
Yeah, in the new year.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. It's gonna be a fun weird time for us, but we're gonna try to do something to get a bigger. You know, we do have some loyal stackies. You know, shout out
Slim
to
Nave.
Should we shout
Slim
them out?
Nave.
Slim Nave is
Nave.
always number one.
Kyle.
Kyle, Alex McKnight,
Alex
Milo,
McKnight, yeah.
Joey.
My mom.
Angelica, Chris's mom,
Joey.
Joey.
Joey
He always
says-
catches up
Joey
with Zach on
has
his
stuck
log
into it.
drives.
Yeah. Tori will fix our freaking sound. And
Yeah,
then you can
Tori,
like us.
fix our sound, and then you can listen.
And maybe you'll see us next year too.
Oh, that's a teaser. Yeah, maybe you'll actually see our fucking faces. So yeah, get ready, bro.
Alright.
Yeah, Chris is already fixing his hair for 2023. So you look.
Gotta get my close up.
Yeah, we might do some face cam. You know, face reveal. Oh,
Fan
no.
cam.
Fan
Face
cam.
reveal.
You've already seen our ugly mugs in a few episodes. Our ugly mugs, bloody hell. All right, let's get this episode over with. Thank you all so much for listening. Have a good 2023, and on to another year of stacked, whatever that may look like. Peace, everybody.
Can you play what you played? Yeah, and the applause that you play for our staff.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah,
group?
yeah. The Eric Andre. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
fart.